Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, and today I want to talk to you about a really cool new trick that people have started using over in Japan that hasn't been possible until now. But it is now possible, and it's kind of like cheating, and it's going to allow you to win the game while taking fewer prizes than you should need to. Or I suppose, to put it more precisely, fewer KOs than you should need to. You see, it's all based around Jirachi Prism Star. And Jirachi Prism Star, when it was revealed, when it was released, was one of those Pokemon that I just thought was amazing. And I got really excited about. And I don't feel bad about getting excited about Jirachi Prism Star. It looked, on the face of it, amazing. Jirachi Prism Star, now the attack, free energy, 10 damage. This Pokemon is now asleep. At the end of your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon will be knocked out. No. I mean, yeah, sure. There's a million different ways to accelerate energy, right? We can use Welder, and we can use Malamar, and I mean, Twin Energy would also work with this if you really wanted it to. Not triple acceleration energy, it's not an evolved Pokemon. So, maybe, and we've got a bunch of other tricks at the moment, like Absol, that will increase your opponent's retreat cost. So that's kind of cool. And we've got that Galamine coming that will increase your opponent's retreat cost. So maybe at some point in the near future, there is actually a way that we can make this work as an attacker, whereby we drop a reset stamp to put your opponent down to 1 card in hand, drop a Galamine and a couple of Absol to increase their retreat cost by 4, assuming they're a basic Pokemon, which most of the good ones are. And then we attack with Jirachi Prism Star, and your opponent can't get out the active, and then they get KO'd. Although, to be clear, they do still have a free hit on Jirachi before they get KO'd. I'm not saying it's a good attacker, I'm saying that actually there are some kind of cool things you can maybe do to turn it into a good attacker, but that's not the point of this video. The point of the video is all about the ability Wish Upon a Star. If you took this Pokemon as a face-down prize card during your turn, and your bench is not full, before you put it into your hand, you may put it onto your bench, and take one more prize card. Oh, so if you take it as a face-down prize card, you take an extra prize. That's good. Here's the problem. It's got to be taken as a face-down prize card. So a card like Town Map, for instance, looks really good, because you turn all your prize cards face up, but you could never use something like Town Map with this, because your prize cards are face up and you got to take it as a face down prize card. Now, for a very short period of time, I and a bunch of other people got kind of excited about the Poipole from Lost Thunder, that for 1 colourless energy let you look at your face down prize cards. It seemed like it was going to work, but no. Because you see, there was only like a 1 in 10 chance that it was going to end up in your prizes. And generally speaking, you only really had 1 turn where you could afford to look at your prizes without attacking. So 1 in 10 games it would work? No. And look, we had Rotom decks for a little while. And again, Rotom decks looked like it might be good. I've spent a lot of time thinking about Jirachi. And Rotom decks, after counting your prize cards, will let you shuffle them into your deck, then take that many cards from the top of your deck and put them face down as your prize cards. All sounded very good, but again it was completely random, and even if you could get Jirachi into your prize cards, you might take it as your final prize card. Or you either had to hope you had a bench space, or deliberately leave a bench space, which means you were giving up 1 bench space for the entire game. You see the problem? Jirachi looked really good, but for all the reasons I've just outlined, it was never quite good enough. Well, the good news is, it is now good enough, and we can use it over and over again, and it is very much a free card combo, which is saving the day here. We are talking about the Mr. Mime from Detective Pikachu. We are talking about the Oranguru from Sword and Shield. And we are talking about the upcoming Scoop Up Net. Now, if we start off with Mr. Mime from Detective Pikachu, it's got the ability Pantomime. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may switch one of your face-down prize cards with the top card of your deck. Awesome. So now we don't need Jirachi in our prizes. We just need Jirachi to be the top card of our deck, and then we can use Mr. Mime to put it into our prizes. And the awesome thing here is that because we are is a really good tanky Pokemon, where, I mean, for free energy, right? You do 90 damage and reduce damage done to you next turn by 30. And then, of course, what you do is play Metal Frying Pan after using Lucario and Melmetal's GX attack, and now all of a sudden you're taking 90 less from attacks, and you are sitting there tanking with the best of them. So that's fine. That would work very nicely here as well. But you need a Pokemon that's not going to need a bunch of bench space. This ain't probably going to work in a Malamar deck, where you're going to need a couple of Malamar just to begin with. You're not going to have the bench space. And yeah, sure, you can play down Mr. Mime and then immediately scoop up Net, and that makes a space for Jirachi. But realistically, you need to be saving 3 of your 5 bench spaces here just for this combo. So it's only going to work with decks that don't need much of a bench. But let's be clear, it lets you cheat extra prizes and win the game taking fewer KOs. This is awesome, and I think you are going to see more and more of this as time goes by. For now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to know if you think this is going to work. It is already working a little bit, but do we really think this is going to be a relevant thing that's going to keep going, or do you think this is just going to be a bit too awkward? Let me know in the comment section, ladies and gentlemen. Go nuts! Be nice, would you? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darn good nonetheless. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.